Hello students, this is Ms. Dalton and this video is on evaluating functions. So let's start with the definition. When you are evaluating a function, that means that you are going to replace or substitute its variable with a given number. So let's look at a few different types of examples. The first example we're going to look at is evaluating a function using a table. So we have this function, f of x equals 3x squared plus 4, and it's represented in the table below. And we are going to evaluate the following. So for the first one, they want us to find f of 0. So when you are saying that, you are saying f of 0, okay? What that means, notice that the 0 is in place of x, okay? If we look at this function, the name of the function is f of x. 0 is in place of x. So it's asking you to find where x is 0. So if we follow along here, x is 0 right here, and it's telling us that when x is 0, the output or the y value is 4. And so that would be what f of 0 is. F of 0 is 4. So it's kind of like reading a foreign language. You need to understand what that f of 0 means. And it just means to take 0 and plug it in for x. And in this case, since we're looking at a table, we're going to find where x is 0 in the table. Let's look at the next one. So the next one is f of 8. So again, we're looking to where x is 8. So x is 8 here. Therefore, f of 8 is equal to 196. Okay, let's look at the next one, f of negative 3. So you go ahead and do this one. I'll give you a couple seconds. Think about it and think about what it is. All right, hopefully you were able to find x as being negative 3 right here, and so therefore f of negative 3 is 31. And then last but not least, even though they've written it differently, they want to know x is equal to negative 2. You're going to find where x is equal to negative 2. You're evaluating the function, and so therefore it's going to be equal to 16. Okay, in this next example, we're going to evaluate using a graph. Now, we're still doing the same thing. I want you to notice that g of x is what this function is called. So it says the graph below represents the function g of x. Notice that x is in the parentheses. So when we're trying to find g of negative 8, that's telling me where x is negative 8, they want you to find the y value or find the output when x is negative 8. So let's go to the graph right here and let's find where x is negative 8. So again, this is your x-axis. So let's find negative 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It would be right here. We have to go up and find the actual point that has an x value of negative 8. This point right here would be negative 8, comma, looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the y direction. So therefore, when x is negative 8, your y value is 6, and so that would be your answer. Let's go to the next one, g of 0. So find where x is 0. X is 0 right here. We need to go down and find the actual point that's on the graph, and it has a y value of negative 2. So therefore, g of 0 is equal to negative 2. I want you to do these last two on your own and pause the video and then press play when you're ready to check your answers. All right, go ahead and check your answers. For part C, the answer was 1, and for part D, the answer was 2. So hopefully you were able to get those correct. Okay, last but not least, for this third example, we're going to evaluate it given a function. So it says use the given functions to evaluate at the specified value by hand and using the calculator. Okay, so for this first one, we have f of x equals the absolute value of x plus 2 plus 3. And we're going to find where we're going to find f of 8. Okay, so what this means is we're taking this 8 value and we're plugging it in everywhere that we see x. Okay, so let's see what that's going to look like. So f of 8 is equal to, let me change that color, it's equal to the absolute value of 8 plus 2 and then plus 3. Okay, well, absolute value is like parentheses, so you're going to evaluate that first. So 8 plus 2 is 10, so this is going to be the absolute value of 10 and then plus 3. Okay, well, if you remember what absolute value means, that means the distance away from 0. Well, 10 has a distance of 10 away from 0, so the absolute value of 10 is 10 plus 3, and so therefore the answer should be 13. Okay, now if you were to do this on your calculator, one thing that I would recommend is every time you substitute in, and I'll show you how to do absolute value on your calculator once we're in class, but absolute value, and then I'd always use parentheses. So if I'm plugging in an 8, I would put that in parentheses and then do plus 2, close the absolute value, and then do plus 3. If you did this on your calculator, you should also get 13. So I want you to check that to make sure you know how to enter it in on your calculator. All right. Last one, g of x is equal to a negative 2x squared plus 4. And we're going to find g of negative 3. So we're going to take that negative 3 value and we're plugging it in for x right here. When we do this by hand, we're going to have the negative 2. Parentheses, negative 3 is what we're plugging in for x, and we're going to square that, and then plus 4. Now, remember your order of operations, you need to square first. You need to do your exponents first. Negative 3 squared, that's the same thing as negative 3 times negative 3. Well, remember, a negative times a negative is a positive, so anytime you square something, it's always going to be positive. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. But remember, we're multiplying that by a negative 2, and then we're going to add 4. So multiplication comes next, so negative 2 times 9 is negative 18, and then negative 18 plus 4 is negative 14. So the answer should be negative 14. Again, when you type this in on your calculator, you're going to type this in exactly as you see it here with parentheses and everything. If you do not use parentheses when you're squaring, cubing, raising it to any power, you're going to get a wrong answer on your calculator, or you could get the wrong answer. So please make sure that you're using parentheses. And again, I can show you how to do that on your calculator one-on-one if you need help. Okay, so that is evaluating functions. If you have any questions, please let me know.